Thank you for staying with us. The show is TVC Sports Desk. It is the Tuesday edition. And once again, I am Samson Oloyede. Let's begin from home. That's where charity, they say, begins. And it all has to do with the legal battle between the Libyan Football Federation and the Nigerian Football Federation at this point in time. Let's tell you that the Libyan Football Federation has threatened to take legal action against Nigeria after the Super Eagles pulled out of their 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifying match day 4 encounter. Now, this comes on the heels of the Super Eagles' arrival to Nigeria on Monday night after boycotting their 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifier against Libya following hostile treatment meted out to the team by the host nation. The team were left stranded at an airport for over 15 hours without food, water, or internet. Now, correspondent Jane Francis Nweze has more details.
To landing.
Entering this stage.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria have touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, picking up their bags and luggages from the carousel. Also, the full Nigerian contingent that traveled to Libya for the reverse fixture of the 2025 African Cup of Nations that will be taking place in Morocco next year. Of course, after going through harrowing experience in the hands of Libyan authorities and the Libyan Football Federation, while the players opted not to play, they decided to boycott this fixture. Before the team's return on Monday night, TVC News visited the Libyan embassy in Abuja, where officials were tight-lipped about the situation. However, the Minister of Foreign Affairs hinted at the efforts of the government to salvage the situation.
We will not be able to allow them to continue. No food. You know, it's a good thing when they landed in Kano, they actually even got some water, some cartons of water. We're in touch with the Charge d'Affaires, and I'm heading back to the ministry now, where we have summoned the Charge d'Affaires.
The Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, received the players at the airport, conveying the regards of the presidency.
The level of CAF, the level of our football federation, I mean, there is no gainsaying the fact that we need to respect, our national teams. Our national teams carry, the national flag of our countries, our various countries.
Well, I don't think we're going to be found wanted in any way because we know what we are doing and we know what happened in Nigeria. And we have our own document, we have our own record of compensation and in relation to both our home and away match. And we have all the record of what has happened in Nigeria as well as in Libya. It is a very lucky thing that in the next couple of days we are going to hold the CAF Congress in Addis Ababa. And by the grace of God, we will raise our voice.
Coach of the Super Eagles, Austin Iguavon, upon arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, spoke to TVC News.
No, we didn't anticipate this, though their captain made some comments which was not so good, and later apologized. They apologized to the group during pre-match meeting, but again, that's internal. But out there, they've sent message which is negative about Nigeria, but we will never treat people the way they are painting us to be.
The Confederation of African Football Congress will be coming up, and we expect this to be among the discussions, ending the difficult experiences that teams, national teams and club sides go through in the hands of host nations on the continent. Jane Francis Nweze, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, we have with us right about now this media officer of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, Promise Efoghe, who is live in the studio with me. Promise, good evening. It's good to see you, hale and hearty, in one piece. Let's start with the basics. What was the experience like? Narrate to Nigerians who are not entirely aware of what really transpired, because several, information on the social media space, but you experienced it firsthand. What exactly transpired from when the Super Eagles took off right here from Nigeria all the way to Libya?
Well, I will start from when the Libyans made the trip to Nigeria. That was where the whole imbroglio began, and I've seen comments on social media where some Nigerians would say tit for tat. You know, we did this to them, we did that to them, so they were trying to retaliate. And I would say for free today that the Libyans had this all planned out. You know, after 2 rounds of games, they were with 1 point from 2 matches, drew 1, lost 1. They sacked their coach. They were desperate, you know, to get the points off Nigeria because the double header against the Super Eagles would either make or mar their chances of making it to AFCON. And I can tell you that they had the plot to, you know, get 4 points off the Eagles, being the toughest team in that group. And they knew they wouldn't have been able to get those points on the pitch. So they had to play the antics off the pitch. Now, the Libyan football authorities told the Nigeria Football Federation they would arrive Nigeria, I think on Wednesday or Thursday. No, on Wednesday. The match was scheduled for Friday, right? And they headed down to Nigeria on Tuesday without informing the Football Federation of Nigeria. And there were 2 hours to landing when they contacted the NFF that they were on their way to Nigeria. Now, that distorts the original plan the NFF would have made for them on arrival in Uyo. It was at that point they told the NFF that they would be landing in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
They knew the game was supposed to be in Uyo. There is an airport in Uyo where all clearance had been given for them to land in Uyo, but they opted to go to Port Harcourt. And when the Football Federation will ask, why are you going to Port Harcourt? All right, when you get to Port Harcourt, we'll make arrangement for you guys to take off from Port Harcourt and come and land in Uyo. The flight from Port Harcourt to Uyo is less than 20 minutes. Less than 20 minutes, you know. But the Libyans declined that. They said if they would do that, it would come at an extra cost to them, paying the private airline that brought them into Nigeria. And so they declined and opted to come by road. The Football Federation provided buses, sent buses from Uyo because they had prepared buses for them on arrival in Uyo. So those buses had to be sent to Port Harcourt. The process of sending those buses to Port Harcourt was the time those Libyans sat on the ground and started taking pictures. Some slept on the ground, started taking pictures.
Okay, let me interject here now. When you say the initial plan was for them to come in on Wednesday, and then they came into the country
on Tuesday. A day before.
A day before. Is it a case of miscommunication? Probably the NFF didn't get the dates right, or the Libyans mixed up their dates, or you think right from the get-go it was a deliberate ploy?
The Libyans wanted to come like a thief in the night. They wanted to rope the Nigeria Football Federation. This was all thought out. It was a plan.
I would have to interject a bit because that also would say, but the match hadn't been played yet. So why come up with these tactics, especially since it's a double header?
If you saw what they played on match day, you would understand that it was a game plan. It was an opera that they wrote the script, right? They wanted to do all of this to the Eagles, hoping that the Eagles would be desperate to play the match, get them tired, get them mentally wearied, and then do what they want to do on the pitch. Of course, playing against a team that is tired, that you've kept at the airport for almost 20 hours, how much energy would they have to run for 90 minutes? That was the plan.
Okay, let's look at it this way. I mean, you've painted what really happened, the whole Port Harcourt saga and some sort of, misinformation out there. You've just clarified that. Exactly. You've just clarified that for the Nigerian public or the public in general. Now, let's move towards the next step or the next development, which has to do with the flight diversion.
Okay, let me tell you something, Samson. After the game on Friday, usually, before I became media officer of the Super Eagles, I've covered lots of games with the Nigerian national team. I've covered several tournaments, including World Cups. Now, when you go away to play a match, right, at the expiration of that game, you either leave that country immediately, because like the Super Eagles, for instance, when we go away to play games, from the stadium, we head to the airport, right?
Yeah.
And if or you want to stay a little bit more, maybe the next day, the next morning, you're out. The game was on Friday. Would you believe that the Libyans were still in Nigeria till Saturday? They spent the entire Saturday in Nigeria. I guess maybe they tasted afang and they didn't come. It was too sweet for them. So they decided to stay 24 hours more. Unsolicited for. It was their decision. Now, a country that you claim maltreated you, would you stay would you stay in the country more? That was the scenario. They spent, when I saw them at the airport, I was shocked. When we were leaving for Libya, that was when they were also leaving. We met at the airport. And I was like, these guys, they're still here. And my colleagues were like, they enjoy Nigeria, leave them. You understand? So that just, erodes the claims from the Libyans that they were maltreated in Nigeria. We left this country en route Kano, right? And it was supposed to be a 3-hour, 35 minutes flight and an hour plus to landing. The pilot was told, you saw the clips of the pilot,
yes.
what he said. An hour to landing, he was told to divert to Labrak in the eastern part of Libya. The plan was to land in Benghazi. The pilot said before he left Nigeria, he's gotten the all clear to land in Benghazi. Remember, the game is supposed to be played in Benina, but Benina is of close proximity to Benghazi, so he was fine. He couldn't land. He didn't tell anybody. He only told Ibrahim Gusso, the president of the Football Federation, to let him know what was going on. It was when we touched down that the Federation president addressed everyone in the aircraft. We got into the airport at Al-Barak Airport, and then from the get-go, we knew we were in for trouble. Our bags were abandoned. No one attended to them. Libyans came into the airport smoking and puffing cigarettes in no smoking area, deliberately puffing it into the faces of our players. And then the wait started.
Okay, let's talk about the players now, because we'll see very soon, clips of the players trying to engage themselves mentally and physically while all of these...
Because they thought the wait would not be more than 2 hours or 3 hours.
Okay.
Okay, they will spend 24 hours at the airport.
Let's look at the players now, how affected they are, because as much as the officials are also affected, the players are the ones who are ready to play the game. There is the mental aspect of things. It's one thing to have, jet lag in terms of fatigue from flying for hours and the delay. How about the trauma, the psychological aspect of the delay? How did it affect the Super Eagles of Nigeria?
You saw pictures of them, playing games at the airport. They actually engaged themselves. DJ Kelechi Hanacho, he was the DJ for the night,
Senior man for a reason.
He was the DJ for the night, playing all sort of music. The players were dancing and having fun because they thought, maybe we'll be here for the next 3-4 hours and we'll get to our hotel rooms, get to sleep. We actually planned to train that same day. There was a plan to train or use the gym that day, but that was completely quashed. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, then we knew we were in serious trouble. At that point, the guys were getting tired. In fact, they were getting tired of pressing their phones.
I mean, it's obvious. You can see them right there.
They were tired of pressing their phones. They wanted to rest. They wanted to sleep. So at that point, the trauma started setting in. The mental block started setting in. One player, I wouldn't mention his name, said, Omo, he said it locally. He said, if I hear Lee before they say Bia, I know they come. That's to tell you how traumatized they were. And this was the plan of the Libyans, to impact on our players mentally, impact on them psychologically, and hopefully they come on the pitch to play with that state of mind so they can get to win. But 6, 7, 8 hours into the wait, Captain Trust Ekong had to call an ad hoc meeting, with the egghead and say, guys, I don't think we can play this game. These players can't do this.
Okay,
because this is not football.
Exactly. Now let's look forward to, beyond the fact that this has affected the team, the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We know quite well that dark arts is a common thing in football, especially North Africa.
Which should not be.
Which shouldn't be, especially North African football, going by precedent. Now, but let's look at it this way. Where do we go from here? We know the Libyans, on one hand, they've said they will, file a legal action against Nigeria. CAF has decided to set up a disciplinary committee right there. But the Eagles are just, neither here nor there, pending the CAF disciplinary committee's hearing and verdict. So the question is, how do we resolve these dark arts from popping up again? Because it is really an ugly sight for football, especially African football.
At departure, I was opportune to speak with, luckily, a few Libyans who could speak little English. And they were really sad at the development. A Libyan told me, this is very bad. This is very bad. He said he's ashamed of his country. Those were his words. like you said, going forward, we are back home. That's part of the going forward. That's part of the going forward. You know, the Football Federation have sent in an official petition. Now, let me tell you something, Samson. The Libyans are complaining on social media. Did they send an official petition to CAF that they were maltreated in Nigeria? The answer is no. So you see where all this is coming from. They never sent any complaints to CAF to register their displeasure at what happened in Nigeria.
And right there, the clip we can see right there, that's a board of Ludo, if I'm not mistaken, on that luggage.
My brother, these guys played all sorts of games. you know this bottle that they put.
Yeah, flip the bottle.
They did all. In fact, let me speak pidgin. I made them do suwe. And I remember they played all sorts of games just to keep themselves busy.
In the midst of a very sad developments, one should just find.
But CAF is taking action on this, like you rightly mentioned. A committee has been set, led by a Senegalese, Abdoulaye Faye, if I get his name correctly now, a 9-man committee. They will look at the merits and demerits of all the situation. They will look at what happened in Uyo, or in Nigeria, let me say, Port Harcourt and Uyo, which the Nigeria Football Federation have sent their report. They will also look at what happened in Libya. Okay. Look at both situations and come up with a decision. Two outcomes are likely. A replay. Did I say replay?
Yeah.
Yeah. A replay of the game.
To be rescheduled, yeah.
A rescheduling of the game, I beg your pardon. Or one of the teams would forfeit. But I can tell you for free, if any of these teams will forfeit, the Libyans will be the ones to forfeit.
Okay. You've spoken quite well and given us a first-hand experience of what's transpired right from Nigeria all the way to Libya.
True.
And it's just good to see that the players were in high spirits. Again, it's something about the Nigerian spirit.
But those spirits came low.
Yeah, it's quite understandable because they're humans.
Became high again, one would touch down Nigeria.
Because they're humans. But in the midst of such a sad incident, it's just good to see that the players were still able to hold their own and find a bit of joy within the gloomy situation, as it were. We wish the boys the very best. We know most of them will be going back to their base
from today.
Exactly, from today, because club football returns this weekend. So
that's true.
It's all to play for these guys, and we can only wish them the very best. Those are pictures or clips of Super Eagles players sleeping on. Some couldn't even sleep. Some were standing 16 hours at the airport. That's
Stanley at the other end.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper.
Obviously. I mean, it is just... again, these are heroes, basically, players who represent us. They adorn the shirts and jerseys of Nigeria.
We got to the airport, Samson, and there were no Wi-Fi, deliberately. A young man came to give us Wi-Fi. Okay. He was arrested.
Well, we'll leave it at that. I just have to say thank you very much for coming on the show. Promise Efoghe, Super Eagles Media Officer. It's good to see that you're back in one piece as well.
Back. Hopefully, I'll be back on that seat maybe tomorrow next.
So maybe you should get some sleep as well. Well, we wish our Super Eagles the very best. We know that they would wear, as I said earlier, the jersey of the nation with pride, and we can only wish the players the very best at this point in time. Let's